Alright. Alright, the other line's been removed. Now is a good time to go in the back and make sure your banjos are tight. Your T-way fitting in the back, which... Oh yeah, just an overview. Keep your tools on one cart and just make sure you have everything nice and organized. Valve cover bolts, intake bolts, APPS throttle position sensor, your intake horn, your hose clamp. Here's the manifold bolts that hold on the lines. Here's your 2 sets of lines. Some more. Here's your crow's feet, large wrench, extension, you know, stuff like that. Here's my gloves I'm wearing, so I got clean hands, so my brother doesn't kill me. Alright, this is what I was looking for. Alright, I'm gonna try and see if I can show you where that banjo is. See it? Right in the middle of the camera. I believe they're all 16mm to tighten. See the one right here? When I did mine, when I had to replace mine right here, that was loose because God knows why. Probably when the previous owner had the injection pump replaced, it's probably was loose from the dealership, but whatever. So now we get to the next part, is pulling the crossover tubes. Now there is a proper tool for this, but you use a screwdriver, make sure it's sitting nice and slow. You may even hear the air come out. Let's see if we can get it to come out here. Oops. Oh, that's the one that's bummed. Never mind. So you come in, get a nice little... You gotta put some downward pressure on it and it'll come right out. Now go along and pull all of them. Just so you know, this is what a crossover tube looks like. So this O-ring here, they have a tendency to crack over time. If you got hard starting when it's cold, this is usually the first thing you suspect. That's the end. And then inside here is your edge filter. I tend to keep these separate from the rest of the stuff on top of like a nice towel or something so they don't get burred up, because if you burr any of these pieces up, that you screw everything up. Alright, as you can see here, we got the bolt here. Here is your nut that you loosen. Do not touch the nut in the far back. It will not be a good thing. You'll see for a minute. Screw that. Let's move to one that's already been removed. As you can see here, this is the front. This is the back. The reason why you don't loosen the back bolt back here is because you don't need to, and it's already been set. So don't mess with it. Now here are the injector heads, and I have already screwed in a valve cover bolt, but Cummins also has a tool you're supposed to use, obviously. But for example, put it in, yeah, wiggle it a little bit, do it by hand. Eventually it will get tight. Wiggle it a little bit more. Yeah. Now also, it's important to take note here the angle the injector is on. So it's important to remove the injector first. Now let's say you try lifting up. doesn't want to come up, which is often the case. Take a really long screwdriver, go on top of the rocker. Sometimes I go on this side, and then just pop. Makes it so much easier than fighting with the injectors and blah blah blah. Now pull your injector out. Make sure the copper washer's on there. As you can see, this has already got creosote on it from being run cold. It's also got oil all over the place. Crap. Alright. Old injector, crossover tubes. Like I said, you gotta leave them separate so if you trip over something, you don't mess them up. Here's my new injectors from Diesel Auto Power. Jacob also gave me new crush washers, and they also have the giant sealing O-ring up top. Yeah, it's funny, I cleaned these injectors not too long ago and they're already dirty again. Okay, when it comes to taking out injectors, the one thing you want to make darn sure about is that you have the copper washers came out as well. So you can see we got copper washers came out on all of them. So that's the important thing. Why? Because if you have two copper washers stacked on one another, your crossover tube won't go in correctly. It'll leak. You'll have a high pressure leak. You can possibly have other issues like diesel coming back out of the combustion chamber into the crankcase, in which case you run the risk of an explosion eventually. Just so you guys can get an idea of how the crossover tube works, it goes in like so, which is why you have to remove the crossover tube before you pull the injector out. Otherwise, you run the risk of burring the tip up. Once again, you burr the tip up, you'll get a high pressure leak. Alright, these are the new Diesel Auto Power injectors. It might be a little hard, but you can kinda, there you go. The holes are a lot bigger than the stock ones, I know that. Alright, first things first, take a little bit of motor oil and put it on the bottom here. As you can see, I already lubricated it, and then you just push down on the copper washer so that when you tip it over, it sticks, right? You want this so that when you go to put it in the bore here, the washer doesn't go anywhere. Alright, we got the first one in here. I'm going to just go over this real quick and show you guys. I lubricated the copper O-ring, but it's probably going to stick like the last one. Put it in like this. Try and get it to drop first time around like that. Now line it up as best as you can like that, then just push down with your hand and you'll hear it click. Here, let's see if we get the like this. Perfect. Now take your locking top here, take the bolt out obviously. Now you want to straighten it out so that it falls down and clicks in. Sometimes they move, they get out of place, you know, takes a little bit of wiggling. As you can see, this is off, so what I'm going to do is put this fat ass screwdriver in here and turn a little bit. This should just move nice and smooth. When you got it right, it'll look like that. Well, wait a second, we're already here. We are. Should look like that when you're done. Yeah, now it's down. Take this bolt, put it back on, thread by hand. That's very important to note that you just hand tighten this. Then you torque it down to 44 foot-pounds or really tight. Otherwise, you'll lift the injector out and you can get fuel dilution and all that other nasty stuff.